Yesterday, the British Talent Cup arrived at Silverstone, and another fascinating twist in the chase for the 2021 championship. It looked like it was all plain sailing for Johnny Garness on the first lap before this happened down at Luffield with a comfortable early lead, which opened the door for his rivals to close in. It left a battle at the front between Jamie Lyons and Casey O'Gorman, which went all the way down to the wire as Evan Belford, the pre-race points leader, looked to fight his way through from the very back of the field. He did so in the end to scrape some points, while a battle further back caused chaos in the fight for the final podium position. As mentioned, it all came down to the final lap as Lyons and O'Gorman went side by side through Stowe before one of the closest finishes of the season saw Lyons take the victory by just 13 thousandths of a second. In the end, the final podium position went to Carter Brown as he closed in on the overall points leader, and Evan Belford completed damage limitation with a solid 9th place. But it's Lyons who led the way. Can he complete the double here today? An unforgettable British Grand Prix weekend is set to end in style as round 6 of the 2021 Honda British Talent Cup season continues. The 5.9 kilometre, 3.6 mile Silverstone circuit provides the ultimate challenge for the riders, who are all hoping to call this paddock their home in the future. I'm Lewis Sudderby alongside Fran Wild to bring you race 2 of the weekend as a spectacular Silverstone weekend draws to a close. And Fran, we're hoping for more of the same from yesterday.
We are indeed. It was a spectacular duel at the front between Jamie Lyons and Casey O'Gorman, and with their fastest laps from yesterday, you can see they are 1-2 on the grid for today as well. So yeah, I mean, I wouldn't be disappointed to see a rerun of that. It was a real gem of a race, and then the fight as well to complete the podium was a stunner, and it'd be interesting, like we saw in the highlights from yesterday with Johnny Garness crashing out, to see what he can do. If he can just keep it together a little bit more in the early laps and see if he can stay with those guys, because he did have that bit of a gap. Absolutely,
so many unanswered questions going into this second race of the weekend with a completely different grid, which we'll run you through very, very shortly. There is your pole sitter. Victor yesterday, Jamie Lyons, who took victory by less than 200ths of a second in that fantastic race-long battle with Casey O'Gorman, bringing himself quietly into the frame perhaps later in the season for a tilt at the British Talent Cup title, which at the moment looks to be very much a four-way dice, with it closing up yesterday. Evan Belford retains the lead and actually extended it, which is certainly not what he expected to do, Fran, at the start of the race, given he was starting from the back of the grid. But he has an 18-point lead over Carter Brown, who moved himself up to second. But Johnny Garness and Casey O'Gorman still very much in contention.
Yeah, very much so. Like you say, yesterday, obviously, Evan Belford was at the back of the grid, not because that was his pace, but because unfortunately he had a technical issue in qualifying. So yeah, he was at the back, and it looked like it was going to be a real challenge to do some damage limitation, but he did everything he needed to, kept his head, kept it on the road, and took some solid points. And then yeah, with Garness crashing out, it was a good day's work for Belford, and ultimately yeah, extending that lead, and now it's Brown in second place overall. But Casey O'Gorman, though, his record of first or second in every race he's contested this season continued. I think he's going to become more and more of a serious threat as the season goes on, because he is 4th and not that far off the top, only 32 points, and that's having missed 3 rounds, although they were 5 races with that 1 cancellation at Thruxton.
Absolutely. Cormac Brown sending a message to his mum watching back home. Of course, we've got riders not just from the United Kingdom and Ireland on this grid today. We have Cormac Buchanan, who hails from New Zealand. We also have American riders represented on the grid, including Julian Correa, the American who starts further back down the grid. He's back on row 7, starting 19th. And a quick flick through the YouTube live comments yesterday, an awful lot of support for him from back in the United States. So I'm sure they'll be cheering him on to some more points today. He took the final point for 15th yesterday. But of course, we're expecting plenty of action up ahead of him in this second race.
Yeah, you love to see it, don't you? It is the British Talent Cup by name, and of course the majority of the grid are British. We've got some Uzbek representation as well on the grid. But yeah, you don't have to be British to enter the British Talent Cup. It's not quite the same as a couple of the other programs on the road to MotoGP. As you can see as well, all the liveries aren't the same. Lots of different colours on the grid. It's individual team competition, and it's kind of based on the blueprint of the European Talent Cup, which is also a team based competition. But yeah, this guy then, Johnny Garnes, he was the man of the moment very briefly yesterday, and then it all went wrong, but he was perfectly okay, which is always the main thing, of course. And I'm sure he'll be very keen to do a bit more now.
Yeah, thumbs up on the grid from Johnny Garnes. I'll take responsibility for that crash, Johnny, if you want, because it was a spectacular commentator's curse less than a lap into the race.
On the absolute point of it happening, could you?
I do apologise, Johnny. It was my fault, I'm afraid. Corey Tinker there, the unmistakable hair of Corey Tinker there, who starts in the middle of row 3. Very impressive result for him. He was in the middle of that fantastic dice that we saw for the final podium position yesterday, from 3rd down to 7th. He was 6th in the end. Here's a rider who will be looking for one step better than yesterday, Sullivan Mounsey, who came through from 11th on the grid to take 4th position, missing out on that final podium position by mere meters, chasing his first podium of the season. That was indeed his best result of the season yesterday.
It was.
And he's looked a little bit further up. He starts on row 3 today.
Yeah, it was his best result of the season, and we saw him make a great start. I said, let's see this time around if he can keep that a little bit more to the end of the race, because he's made some fantastic starts this season. He's often been up in that fight in the initial stages and then just faded a little bit as the race has gone on, and those with slightly better pace over race distance have kind of stretched their legs. But great result for him. Love that helmet design as well that we saw there, with the Jamaican flag on the front and the British flag on the back. Great to see that on the grid. This is pretty swish look as well, just the matte black and red.
Absolutely, the matte black and red of Harrison Crosby, who will be looking for a slight reversal of fortunes from what happened to him yesterday. He was unfortunately involved in a collision with James Cook, should I say. They collided down at Vale, unfortunately, as they were battling for the podium, so he'll be hoping for a reversal of fortunes today. As we take a look at Rhys Stevenson on the number 23, he starts 11th on the grid, 1 place ahead of Evan Belford, who showed his powers of recovery yesterday. He's got slightly less steep of a hill to climb today, and it'll be fascinating to see if he can close in and maybe get himself in on the battle for the victory. Yeah,
I think it will. He did a great job yesterday from the back of the grid, yeah, like I said, to keep his head, which I think is often the key challenge when you find yourself in that position, because it'd be so easy to just immediately kind of panic it and full gas and then end up making a mistake early on. But we saw him, they were quite close, weren't they, almost on the grass when we saw the replay of his start from the onboard. Spectacular stuff. But yeah, he gets it together, made some good progress, couldn't quite bridge the gap in the end because yeah, there was quite a few meters of fresh air between some of the groups yesterday. But let's see what he can do this time around. Oh, we seem to have an issue for somebody.
Yeah, we had a rider waving on the grid. He looks like he's back on the 4th or 5th row of the grid as we catch a look at the number. That's Rossi Banham, who is starting on the 5th row, or was due to in 14th position. Clearly an issue getting that bike up and running for the start of the race. If they can get him into the pit lane, he can perhaps join the warm-up lap from the pit lane and then start from the back. But yeah, as I imagine, with these riders in their teenage years, the nerves will already be jangling, and an incident like that does very little to help.
Yeah, definitely. It's not what you want, is it? I think I'd certainly be like, oh no. But yeah, at least then before they all set off, no dramas from that, is safely able to get into pit lane. Hopefully it's just that it's stalled or there's some easy to fix problem and he can get going from pit lane. Not where he'll want to be, or sorry, from the back of the grid. Not where he'll want to be, of course, but better than missing it out completely. So hopefully then we'll see Rossi Banham able to join the race. So shall we have a look through the grid?
We shall. The cloudy conditions, as you can see, pretty cool, 17 degrees. The sun hasn't really peeked through the clouds much over the course of the day, but I can confirm there is no immediate threat of rain, although this is the United Kingdom, so you always have to take that with a little bit
say, you said that with some
salt.
Authority there.
I did famously in CV at Aragon last year confirm there will be no rain, only for spots to immediately hit the window just in front of my face. But as Fran mentioned, let's run you through the grid as this warm-up lap takes place, and it is a different grid to yesterday. For those that don't follow the British Talent Cup regularly or were with us yesterday, the grid is set by the fastest laps of the first race of the day yesterday, which it will not surprise you to hear that the winner of yesterday's race, Jamie Lyons, did set the fastest lap and does start from pole position ahead of Casey O'Gorman and Carter Brown. Cormac Buchanan heads row 2 ahead of Bailey Stewart Campbell and James Cook. Johnny Garnes starts from 7th this time because he had no fastest lap to register yesterday because he crashed on the first lap. He's been given 7th on the grid. Corey Tinker starts 8th ahead of Sullivan Mounsey. As you can see, Rossi Banham quickly hot-footing it to the back of the pack to join the grid, where he'll start from last position. Harrison Crosby, Rhys Stevenson and Evan Belford, who started from the back yesterday, he's 12th today ahead of Harley McCabe. Banham's spot will be missing from row 5, so Ollie Walker will be bumped up a spot essentially to 14th. Then we have Lucas Brown, Alexander Rowan and Keanu Vaya. Julian Correa, Harrison Mackay and Mason Johnson are on row 7 ahead of Luca Hopkins, Josh Bannister and Rhys Coates. Row 9 is where we'll find Ross Moore, Harrison Desoy and Rossi Dobson, with JJ Cunningham, Eli Banish, Peter Willis, Anthony Eagle and Holly Harris completing our 32 rider lineup.
Lovely. Sounds like a readout of Patreon supporters, all of them at once. Wonderful stuff. So here we are then on board with Evan Belford. Like I said, some spectacular shots in the broadcast yesterday. If you didn't see that from that start, it all got quite close, but everybody was pretty cleanly away yesterday. So hopefully we'll get similar stuff today. And another great race. It's always interesting to see who's managed to take a step forward and how the pack shuffles a little bit on Sunday, because obviously with that full race of information, it's always interesting to see what it does to the field.
It is confirmation that Rossi Bannon will be able to join the back of the grid and start from the grid. Here he is, coming around Luffield now. Wait for me, he says, under his helmet. We can just see him appearing into view out of our commentary box window, and he has joined the back of the field, so he will be in position. He will start 32nd, but that didn't stop Evan Belford yesterday storming through to the point. So a little bit of inspiration, hasn't he?
So,
he's seen it done. It can be done. So what will happen then in this second race of the weekend? Here is your pole man. Fashionably late to the grid for the start of the race. He's making his rivals wait for the start of this race. Will it be another head-to-head between Lyons and O'Gorman? Will Garness be able to avenge his accident of yesterday? Where will Evan Belford feature as he looks to come through from the 4th row after his comeback yesterday? Those questions will be answered over the course of the next 11 laps. Lyons takes one, looks behind him, sees the field waiting, the red flag is pulled away, and we are ready to go. Race 2 of the weekend in the Honda British Talent Cup. 11 laps start now, and Lyons doesn't appear to get away as well this time, as O'Gorman pulls alongside. A look either side, and Lyons is out dragged to turn 1 by O'Gorman. Around the outside goes Garness. That's a terrific start from him. He's come all the way from the 3rd row of the grid to sweep around the outside and straight up to 2nd.
Yeah, it's fast becoming classic Johnny Garness. Is that incredible start once again for the number 57, like we mentioned a couple of times yesterday, and you can clearly visually see he is a very small rider, and he's already through then into the race lead as well. So the number 57 leading the way. He's a little bit further than he got yesterday as well, so good stuff from him to be up in the mix already.
It's a bit of a fright for Cormac Buchanan there as they went into Maggots, who suddenly had Bailey Stewart Campbell flying up the inside of him on the distinctive black and pink machine. You can see him taking a very different line to the rest, right of screen, trying to avoid anyone slipstreaming him, but it doesn't appear to be working as he he's filtered out to the edge of the track. Jamie Lyons showing what he showed on a number of occasions yesterday. He often liked that inside line into Stowe, and he sweeps up the inside of Casey O'Gorman. Johnny Garness has the lead. Not as big a lead as he had yesterday, but of course he didn't make it to the end of the first lap. He'll be looking to avenge that today, and as you can now see from the tower on the left of the screen, Evan Belford looks as if he's got himself into contention at the front immediately from 12th to 6th.
Yeah, I'm sure he'll be happy with that as a good start, as will Johnny Garness now. He's got a race on his hands today after that disaster yesterday. But yeah, some usual suspects near the front then, and Jamie Lyons keeping that speed from yesterday. Wow, that was fairly spectacular from the onboard, and Lyons then through into the lead, and O'Gorman has gone with him.
Yeah, no one was more surprised than Garness, because it's cost him another 2 places. O'Gorman and now Carter Brown on the 74 going with the inside of him. Garness, I think, is going to be a bit more patient this time after he perhaps looked to take a little bit too much too soon out of yesterday's race. Still 11 laps ahead of us, and we've already lost Eli Banish, I'm afraid. The 69 has retired on this first lap. Down the back straight, the Wellington straight, then down towards Brooklands, and side by side they go once again. We're on board, I believe, with O'Gorman as we look at the battle further back. Here's Bailey Stewart Campbell looking to get up the inside of Carter Brown. In fact, I think we're on board with Garness, and Bailey Stewart Campbell, unfortunately, contact there into Brooklands, and down he goes.
Yeah, from the onboard then, that looked like it was going to be a bit of a challenge to make that stick, and sadly he's gone down. Well, hopefully he'll be up and okay in a minute. But then O'Gorman then in the race lead once again, somewhere he's very used to being, the number 67. Great race once again for him so far. But yeah, it's a bigger group at this stage in the race already, because that gap really opened out early on Saturday afternoon. But so far we've got a good group fight. But yeah, definitely usual suspects to a lot of races we've seen this year. And we can see as well then Bailey Stewart Campbell up to his feet and walking away. A little bit bruised maybe, but rider okay. Yeah,
we'll hope to catch a replay of that very, very shortly. Of course, he was chasing his first podium of the season yesterday. As we take a look at the battle up in front, and the gloves are off already. You have got 11 laps, 10 of them still to go, but already they are swapping paint and swapping elbows as they go onto the hanger straight now for the second time. Bailey Stewart-Campbell out of the race. As I say, we've just caught the onboard from the rider in front, so hopefully we'll get a better view of that in just a moment. A little bit of a gap opening up for Casey O'Gorman, but he did at one stage look as if he was going to do that yesterday, but Jamie Lyons soon reeled him back in as we take a look once again at Bailey Stewart-Campbell, who we're glad to see is walking away. It looked like a very painful accident, that. And not a kind of crash that you can prepare for when it ends up with contact from another rider. Here we see up the inside. He's on the inside of Carter Brown. Does he perhaps clip the back of Garness? No, he doesn't. He just... Oh, yes, maybe he does. He definitely makes contact with Carter Brown, put it that way. And unfortunately, that was the end of the race. As one of the old cliches goes, front wheel and rear wheel only has one winner.
Yeah, that was very close. We're watching again the onboard shot that we had by pure luck. We were watching that from a real grandstand seat there. But I was going to say then, Jamie Lyons needs to be careful here if Casey O'Gorman has got the pace that he showed yesterday, because he was a little bit mired in the pack there, but he's made a couple of positions up, and he's now back on the tail of Johnny Garness, who looks to be looking for a way through to the lead as well, but no way through there for the number 57. So Lyons probably well aware that one of his biggest rivals, likely come the end of the race, is ahead of the game, and Casey O'Gorman can be so good when he is out front as well.
Absolutely. A look to his left. Did he perhaps just let Johnny Garness lead there? Maybe he thought, after you, Johnny, I'll follow you for a bit, because there was a definite look to his left as Garness soon just powered past him into the lead as they approach Brooklands for the third time. O'Gorman now has his race one nemesis Lyons right on his tail. As you mentioned, a much bigger leading group this time. We haven't got the two breakaway riders that we saw yesterday as we come around Woodcote for the third time. Over the line we go. Garness's lead is, well, you can see it, it's next to nothing. 600ths of a second. Fastest lap though for Cook in sixth position as Lyons has a look up the inside. He goes past O'Gorman as Garness maintains the lead. This is going to run and run all the way to the flag.
I was going to say, does he go past O'Gorman? But yeah, he's made it stick then, although Casey looks like he's already looking for a way through again, but no. At the moment then, it's Johnny Garness retaining that lead ahead of Jamie Lyons, and I spoke too soon because Lyons then heads through as Garness just a little bit wide there, and the number 7 then once again in the lead of this race at Silverstone, and already there's a couple of meters behind him as well.
It is 7 riders have distanced themselves. The back of this leading group is where you'll find Belford in 5th position. That's 11 points for him if he finishes there, but of course there's an awful long way to go. Cook, the fastest rider on track, in 6th position. He's on the 34, and then the 24 of Buchanan, who was the victim of a very aggressive move on the opening lap. A brilliant move, but an aggressive one from Stewart-Campbell on lap 1. Saw him shuffle back to 7th, but he's looking pretty comfortable at the back of that leading group, with Sullivan Mounsey leading that second group as he looks like he had a rider up the inside of him there. Mounsey though maintains 8th position at the moment. We ride on board with the leader then. Johnny Garness. Lyons runs in 2nd place. O'Gorman in 3rd. We're now on board with the points leader, Evan Belford, on the 52 as he chases Carter Brown, and that's the end of the race for the 61. That's Harrison Mackay, who's fortunately out of the race. That looks like at Vale, unfortunately, where he's gone down. That's caught out many of the best riders on the planet this weekend, so despite the frustration, no shame in losing the front there.
No, absolutely not, and as you can clearly see, rider okay, bike not so okay, but yeah, a little bit of frustration showing there, especially in race 2 when you know it's the weekend over for sure. It must be a bit of a heartbreaker there, especially on this huge stage alongside MotoGP at Silverstone. But rider okay, like we say, main thing. And back at the front then, it's getting close once again, but Jamie Lyons just holding on to the lead at the moment, but Casey O'Gorman really looking keen to absolutely glue himself to that rear wheel.
Absolutely. O'Gorman certainly liked leading yesterday. Whether Lyons was just choosing to follow, whether he was simply on the limit, staying in his slipstream, maybe only they can tell us yesterday, but they're looking like they're pulling out a little bit of a gap again as we come to complete lap 4 of 11. Lyons with the lead over Casey O'Gorman. You can see the 2 teammates just behind Garness and Belford, the 2 of the 4 riders who are very much in the frame for this Honda British Talent Cup this season. 3 rounds remain after this one, 6 races still remain, so still plenty of points on the table, but as we mentioned, with just 32 points covering the top 4, anything can still happen. There is what happened unfortunately to Mackay, the front end just washing away under braking for Vale. It is such a big stop as you sweep through Stowe and then immediately jump on the anchors and crank it over left for Vale and Club. But as we can see, he is absolutely fine as we come back to the leaders. Lyons, who has a very comfortable style. He certainly enjoyed sitting in second and having a few dives up the inside. This time he is the hunted rather than the hunter, as he looks to force O'Gorman around the outside, and O'Gorman realises that that's perhaps too early to be trying moves like that.
Well, we don't know. We've seen some por fuera manoeuvres from Casey O'Gorman this season already. He's no stranger to that for sure. But yeah, so he has made his way through then. Obviously content to go back into the lead, because we did see again just a lap ago round Woodcote and onto the straight. He was putting his knees out, trying to increase that air resistance so he didn't get too much speed and kind of shoot past there. But now obviously made that decision. Okay, I'll have the lead back. So we'll see. It's always an interesting chess match in the BTC, especially before crunch time in the last few laps, when everyone's trying to size each other up and see what battle they're going to have on their hands later.
And their tactics are going to be interesting as well. We've seen a number already in this race of riders taking a little look behind them, a little glance to see what's behind them, as Johnny Garnett is about to have one fewer riders behind him as he goes steaming up the inside on the 57 there. At the 52, just behind of Belford also on the move. They're now going to be running third and fourth in this race as Carter Brown looks to try and fight back, but as it stands at the moment, Garnett is in third and Belford in fourth, so we have the top four in the championship right up at the front. Lyons, of course, is closing in after his performance yesterday. He's now about to fall victim to a move from Garnett, who's now going to try and fight the inside, and no way through there. There was no way that Lyons was going to give him an inch there, and in the end the gap was closing on Garnett and he had to get out of it.
Yeah, so Jamie Lyons then absolutely not giving up second place for anything there at all, and remains then tagged to the back wheel of Casey O'Gorman. And Garnett, good to see he kind of realised that wasn't going to wash and bailed out of it. But I'm sure as well he'll want those points, having lost that second place yesterday, so he'll not want to be doing anything too crazy either. But now he has got the move done and moves back into second place, the number 57, so certainly making life a little bit more complicated for these two than they had it at times yesterday.
Absolutely. Ollie Walker's a rider on the move, as you can see. Fastest lap of the race for him, a 2:21.6. That's a lap that would have put him on the front row of the grid for today if he'd set that lap time yesterday. Ollie Walker's had a very, very consistent season on the 48. He's been in the top 10 in every race he's finished, although 10th yesterday was his lowest finish in a race that he's seen the checkered flag in this season. He's already looking to try and better that today. He has been shuffled back to 10th after initially showing up in 8th, as we ride on board with the new race leader. It's Garnett this time who sweeps past O'Gorman on the hanger straight into Stowe. 7 laps to go at the start of this one, 6 to go as they'll cross the line next, so it doesn't sound like an awful lot, but with, as I mentioned, a pretty long lap round here, 2 minutes 21. That's still an awful lot of racing still to go.
It is indeed, and by your maths translation where you almost said it's over 6 miles, that would be quite incredible. But yeah, it is a long lap for these guys around the full Silverstone Grand Prix layout. So yeah, plenty of racing left to go, plenty of tactics to sort out, and it looks like at the moment though these three look pretty comfortable in that lead.
Absolutely, just 3.4 seconds covers the top 12 riders at the moment in this race. We've got a slight gap behind James Cook, who runs in 7th, but it looks like that gap could well close, certainly if Ollie Walker has anything to do with it, because he's the fastest rider out there at the moment. So still plenty to be decided here. That's a look at 4th position. That's Evan Belford, who leads the championship going into this race. He has an 18-point lead over Carter Brown, who's currently running 1 place behind him. But with Garnett and O'Gorman up the road in 1st and 2nd, that top 4 could very much close together by the end of this race if you put the flag out now. Of course, still plenty of racing still to go. O'Gorman just shadowing, just keeping an eye on the leader, but he'll have to keep an eye on Jamie Lyons, who was certainly not afraid of putting a move on him yesterday, and he's already signalled his intentions today.
Yeah, definitely. The number 7 looking pretty menacing through there, and still very much with those two guys as well. I think looking at Casey O'Gorman, obviously he's suffered from those injuries this season and missed 3 rounds, those 5 races, but with that record of 1st or 2nd in every race as well, those who are ahead of him know that if they're not going to be able to be as consistent as him throughout the rest of the season, they really do need to worry about him now, because he's not that far off with 2 races every weekend as well. That's 50 points on the table. 32 points ain't that much at all.
Absolutely, and such experience as well for a 14-year-old. It's amazing how much racing he's done as he uses every bit of his experience there to stay ahead of Jamie Lyons and straight through. Don't know what's happened to Johnny Garnett there. He just seems to didn't have as much drive as they went through Beckett, and in the end he has been shuffled right back. That's Lyons up ahead of us. We're on board now with Belford. but these top four are just swapping positions by the corner at the moment, as seemingly neither of them want to lead. It keeps changing and chopping as we go. Garness up the inside now with Lyons. That's his trademark moving to stone. Once again, Garness closing the door, and O'Gorman will be looking to pick up the pieces.
Yeah, for sure. It's yeah, that was an interesting shuffle, wasn't it? It looked like Casey O'Gorman had really lost out, but then somehow emerged from the next apex in the lead. So yeah, it's getting a little bit closer now, a little bit more frenetic than we saw a couple of laps ago. But yeah, they've all closed up a little bit as well, because we kind of saw a bit of a gap, nothing too extreme, but a little bit of fresh air behind the top three. But now they're all line astern once again, and all in that slipstream as well. And Cormac Buchanan at the back of this group doing a good job as well. He's very much still with them, as is James Cook, who's managed to yeah, avoid any disasters today. But
yeah, that's Lyons up the inside of us, and the fact that we can't see him tells us that he's ahead of Garness. Indeed he is. He takes such corner speed, does Jamie Lyons. He's very, very brave indeed, and a very, very distinctive style for the tall winner of yesterday's first race of the weekend. He is going for the double, as Jamie Lyons. He's currently 50 points adrift in the chase for the title. That could soon close if he can take victory here, especially with Evan Belford currently running in 5th position, as we see one of the typical tactics that a rider tends to use. It was Carter Brown saying, "Follow me, Evan," in the battle for 4th position. Evan immediately completely disregards the advice.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to love them keep trying to do that, haven't you? I mean, unless you've got, here we get a replay then of that move that we didn't quite see. Nicely done there, cleanly. Jamie Lyons then back into the lead, and yeah, just nicely done, isn't it? When he's aggressive, but he's very clean and gets it done. Yeah. So let's see if he's retained that. He has indeed, although O'Gorman heading for the inside this time and moves back into the race lead. So yeah, it looks like we're going to get a good group battle to the end here.
Well, that's the move that Casey O'Gorman tried to win the race with yesterday, as he tried to duck underneath as they round the fast right of Woodcote to cross the line. And interestingly, Casey O'Gorman did cross the line in the lead at the end of the previous lap, just by 1/100th of a second. He was 23 thousandths worse off than that yesterday and ended up crossing the line in 2nd place. But perhaps a dress rehearsal for O'Gorman. That move didn't work for him yesterday, but he's already shown that he can get at the inside of Jamie Lyons and get to the finish line first. And that finish line is right on the other side of Woodcote.
It is, yeah. So there's no slipstreaming like we've seen riders like O'Gorman and Garness really gain from this season on the drag to the line in the BTC, being those smaller riders. But you know, that Alex Rins special, we've seen it pulled off to perfection around Woodcote. So yeah, that'd be interesting as well if Casey is aware with that tiny margin that he did make it to that line that time when he tried it.
Absolutely.
But these guys though, they're starting to break away, aren't they?
They are. We saw the Jamie Lyons special there into Stowe as he goes up the inside of Casey O'Gorman once again. Yeah, the gap is growing. It's half a second back to Evan Belford, who came through the first sector in 3rd position. That has already changed, as you can see on the tower and left of your screen. Garness is back ahead as Belford runs it way out wide as they go through Club. Better be careful you don't go in the green too many times, because they are monitoring track limits out there, and if you run out there too many times you could land yourself in trouble, particularly if you do it on the final lap of the race. So Gorman running closely, a little bit of a defensive line from Lyons there, trying to fend off any kind of inside move from O'Gorman, and it's worked for now. We're now past half distance in this race, 4.5 laps to go, and Lyons continues to hold the lead with a 7/10 gap between these leading duo and the battle further back, led by Garness, who has Brown and Belford right on his tail. The three very identical looking machines running line astern as the leaders continue to shadow each other. O'Gorman having a good look at the back of Lyons, but he doesn't want to show his hand just yet.
Yeah, no, for sure. These guys, though, it does seem to change throughout the lap, doesn't it? There's obviously places where they're a little bit stronger, but we have seen Garness then manage to just gain that back in different parts of the track. But these guys need to be careful they don't trip each other up too much, because the guys ahead of them are definitely, if not faster, then certainly as fast, and too many shenanigans back here will not serve their shared goal at all.
No, and a couple of round the outside attempts there that didn't quite pay off. We saw Carter Brown trying to have a go around the outside as they went around Luffield, and he nearly had that done to him as they went round Woodcote. Neither move quite paid off, but yeah, I mean, you've got to admire the bravery, you've got to admire the ambition, but it wasn't quite executed perfectly just yet. So a half-second gap there between the leading duo, 4 laps to go, and as these riders, this quintet that are battling for 3rd position, and again, that's a move that I've very, very rarely seen done through Chapel Curve, but Carter Brown unable to pull it off. Garness with a little bit of shake of the head there as he continues to maintain third place, and that gap is only growing. Lyons once again having a look at the inside of Stowe. He clearly wants to lead, he clearly wants to set the pace and set his own rhythm out front, use that corner speed that he's got and not allow O'Gorman to slow him up through the corners, as O'Gorman once again gets a better run out of Stowe, clearly carrying a little less corner speed but again a better exit out of it. Lyons fending him off for now, but despite the chopping and changing and the swapping between these leading pair, they are continuing to edge away from Belford and Co, who currently battle for third place. Every point counts as we fight for this British Talent Cup. 6 races to go after this one, and as mentioned, Belford carries an 18-point lead over the rider just over his shoulder there, Carter Brown.
Yeah, exactly. So I think we missed a bit of a moment there for Johnny Garnes as well, because he seemed to have dropped back a little bit in this group. Those city lifting by RS Racing Machines were line astern at the front of this fight for third.
Yeah, he's fallen into the clutches of that second group, hasn't he? Walker was just going up the inside of him there into Village on the 48. I think he's taken 7th position. We'll see that shortly as they appear on screen. I believe we're on board now with Garnes, and he's lost a couple more. He's now down to 10th position, so it's all going wrong for Johnny Garnes. He has to make sure that he does salvage some points, limit the damage somehow, but he's got plenty of work to do now with just 3 laps to go at the end of this one.
He has, so that's what the gap now looks like then to the leading duo. That was on board with Evan Belford briefly, who's now in 3rd place, and it's 2 seconds roundabout is what the graphic tells us, so they've really got the hammer down now, that duo in the lead of O'Gorman and Lyons, and it's O'Gorman back in the lead as well. But yeah, Garnes then, not sure what's gone on for him. He's now down in 11th place, so this could turn out to be a very expensive weekend in the standings indeed. Hopefully he'll be able to make some progress back towards where he was, but it's James Cook making more progress at the moment as he moves through and homes in on 3rd place now.
Fastest lap of the race to the 15, the yellow bike just in that group, just disappearing out of picture. Harrison Crosby, who was unfortunate to be involved in a collision with Cook yesterday, the collision down at Vale. He's got redemption on his mind today, and he is right in the thick of this podium scrap. Garnes now, as you can see, he's at the back of that group. He's behind Corey Tinker now. Something appears to be wrong with Garnes, because it's not just the fact that he's lost his rhythm. He's now seeming to lose all drive. Look at the gap. He's having a good look behind him. Perhaps he realises there's a problem, and he's already trying to gauge just how much time he can afford to lose and still bring that bike home in the points. Fortunately for him, there is a big gap of 15 seconds behind this group back to the 13th place rider, which is McCabe at the moment on the 79 in 13th position. So perhaps if he can manage this over the last 3 laps, Garnes can still salvage 4 points. But given that he currently trails Evan Belford by 20, Belford currently running in 5th position, this could do some serious damage to his title hopes. But it would appear, as you say, Fran, to be a bike issue rather than a rider issue.
Yeah, for sure. If you get beaten up and lose a couple of places, you know, that can happen, especially in these Talent Cup races where the competition's so close. But losing that amount of ground with their rider who was, we've got drama there then. That's James Cook, who's gone down and just about managed to stop himself sliding. Rider okay, but he'll be really annoyed with that then, as you can see, that frustration for the number 34 after a DNF yesterday as well.
Out of a podium position, unfortunately for him, or certainly a podium chance. He took 4 in 5 races earlier in the season, but that is now 3 consecutive DNFs, unfortunately, for Cook. We'll get another look at that shortly, but a crash into Abbey. That is no small crash. We can confirm it's not Carter Brown, we don't think. Or certainly it wasn't Carter Brown who was involved in that accident, so unless he's crashed somewhere else out of picture as the lead changes once again, we believe he is still there in the 3rd place battle. And indeed he is, as the tower updates itself. He's running in 4th position, but 2 laps to go then as they come across the line, and the rematch is on between Lyons and O'Gorman. O'Gorman once again just having a look as they go through Woodcote, and again cutting to the inside. Does he get over the line first? I don't think he did this time. Indeed he didn't. He was 400ths of a second behind, but he's got 2 more laps to try and perfect that move and snatch victory from Jamie Lyons, who took a fantastic victory yesterday. He's looking to double up today. There was unfortunately the bike that we saw tumbling through the tarmac runoff at Abbey. Carter Brown at the inside of him, so perhaps the graphic came up because he was involved, and indeed it was a moment for him, and just pure bad luck unfortunately for Cook. Certainly no blame initially on Carter Brown, even if it was his moment that caused the chain reaction. Just a moment for him which sent that number 34 bike on a world of its own towards the other side of the racetrack.
Yeah, that's really bad luck then for James Cook. That's twice he's now not been able to finish here at Silverstone, neither of which were his fault. someone else's accident each time. But the number 34 at least knows he had some pace, so hopefully he'll be able to bounce back next time. But it must be super frustrating to be in that situation twice in one weekend as well.
Absolutely. With an eye on the championship as this battle continues at the front, Garness has bumped him back up to 11th now as a result of that incident. But the bad news might be soon coming, because his last lap was a 2:30.3. That's some 8 seconds slower than the leaders. It's 5 seconds slower than the riders behind him, and he's got 10 seconds to play with. Here he is on screen. We're dealing with whatever issue he has. He's got 10 seconds to play with over this last 2 laps, but he is losing 5 seconds a lap at the moment to the chasing group behind him. So a big job, a big couple of laps here for Garness. Every point matters. Can he limit the damage over this last 5 or 6 miles and get himself into the points? As we see Buchanan slipping down the tower. We'll keep an eye on that to see if he is in this chase group, battling for 3rd position, because in fact he has been shown on timing screens as having crashed out. The rider is okay, but unfortunately the Kiwi will not be challenging for the podium here today. There's your confirmation on screen. The chase group is now being currently led by Belford. There he is, and the fast finishing Walker might be coming all the way through to 3rd at this rate. He looked like he was shaping up for a move on Belford there.
Yeah, from his worst finish of the season yesterday to this performance today, that's a great job from Ollie Walker. Yeah, the number 48 making some really good progress, and as I say that, it looks like he's just overtaken Evan Belford as well, so it could be on for a fight for this podium then. Really good turnaround from yesterday's race, as these guys then pound on at the front, still close as ever, and yeah, nothing to choose between them at all. And you can see Jamie Lyons as well having a look over at Casey O'Gorman each time when they come round Woodcote, like, are you there, are you? That's what you're going to try. So it could be interesting, I think, at the end of the race.
Absolutely. Last lap time then for the battle for the victory and this battle for the podium, as Walker is shuffled back now to 5th position. Carter Brown, who stole that final podium position right at the end of yesterday's first race, he's looking to do the same again. Belford, who salvaged 9th position from a pretty desperate grid position, looking to try and end the weekend on a high with a podium position, which would consolidate his lead in the championship, particularly with Garness further down the field. O'Gorman, of course, knows that those 25 points could do him the power of good in the chase for the title. He's looking to go at the inside of one of Lyons' favourite overtaking spots, but once again, that corner speed that Lyons is able to carry in just thwarts any attempts that O'Gorman has. O'Gorman once again looking like he's getting a better drive out of the corner. Can he get up the inside into Vale?
Yeah, Casey O'Gorman then, okay, the door's closed there, I'll try here, but no, again, no way through. Jamie Lyons manages to keep that door closed. Really great job from the number 7 so far this lap to just defend his lead, but you know a move's going to come at some point, you just know it.
Absolutely. Try and outbreak Jamie Lyons is the challenge that O'Gorman's faced over the course of his first 10 laps, and I think he's struggling at the moment to pull that off, which is maybe why Woodcote is his best option. The fast sweeping right-handed, just try and get the momentum and duck up the inside. This is the battle for 3rd position then. Belford leads it. We cut back to the leaders. Another defensive line from Lyons. O'Gorman now, he's got 2 more opportunities. Brooklands at the end of the Wellington Straight as they come through these next 2 left-handers, and then the desperate Rins-like move into Woodcote.
Yeah, I was going to say, it really may be a Rins special at the moment. No way through then for Casey O'Gorman, and we're nearing the end of the lap. It's not that far away, but the number 7 holds firm, and they've got quite a gap now, so they know they can duel it out. Looks like O'Gorman's gone for it though. He has taken over in the lead. Can Lyons immediately answer back? No, not yet. So now it's up to the number 7 to try and make some magic.
Yes, can he get the inside of Luffield? He went really wide there. That will have cost him momentum. He's still able to stay right on the rear wheel of O'Gorman. Is he able to try the move that O'Gorman tried yesterday and get up the inside into Woodcote? He looks like he's too far back. O'Gorman looking to take a defensive line. He needs to make sure that he keeps the momentum going as they go through Woodcote. He does just that, and it is another victory for Casey O'Gorman. He continues his record of finishing 1st or 2nd at every race this year. Belford gets over the line in 3rd. I think we've lost Walker on this final lap. He tumbled down the order out of picture as Harrison Crosby comes over the line in 4th position, but you can see the elation for Evan Belford from the back of the grid yesterday. He comes out of the weekend with a 9th and a 3rd, and his championship challenge is still very much on track. The same goes for Casey O'Gorman, who takes his 5th victory of 2021.
Yeah, 5 victories out of 7 races doesn't sound too bad, does it? Really incredible job then from the number 67. But here's the number 57 then crossing the line, and unfortunately it did lose out a little bit more, Johnny Garnes, in the latter stages. So it's 14th, so it's 2 points. So it was better than nothing. It was worth limping round and trying to salvage something, because those 2 points can always prove crucial, especially like we said when there are so many still on the table in the British Talent Cup this year. But Casey O'Gorman, that's what I said, when he's in the race he's a serious threat for the win. His record shows that, and he's so consistent. So I'm sure he'll definitely be one to watch for the rest of them now, having seen his performance on his return.
Absolutely. I believe that he'll move into a share of second place in the British Talent Cup standings. He'll move on to 165 points. That will be level with Carter Brown, who took 11 points for second place, and they will trail Evan Belford, who with his third position moves on to 188 points with that podium finish. So it's closing up nicely. Belford's lead, 188. He'll have a 23-point lead, which is an increase of 5 as he had at the start of the day. Garnes, unfortunately, with that 14th position, that moves him only on to 154 points, so he'll be 34 adrift of his teammate who leads the championship as we go into the final 3 rounds of the season. But it is still very much all to play for between the top 4, perhaps even the top 5 riders, because of course Jamie Lyons, with 45 points from a possible 50 this weekend, has brought himself right into the frame.
He has, yeah, and on the biggest stage of the season, so I'm sure he'll be very happy with that as well. He's been making some good progress throughout the season, but yeah, really taking a step forward this weekend. Great to see Casey O'Gorman still going for a wheelie. Absolutely love it. But yes, some great performances then here at Silverstone, and Elvin Belford, I think he'll be very relieved to get that podium. It's actually been a tougher run of form than the lead has shown at times, so he'll be very happy to be back on the box as we watch then a replay of the race winning overtake in the end.
Absolutely. He went for it a little bit earlier this time, didn't he? He went for the move down the Wellington straight and crucially was able to thwart off any attempt on the brakes for Lyons to strike back. And it seemed clear, given what O'Gorman had been showing earlier in the race, that if he was going to lead out of Luffield, he was going to lead into Walker. Here's what happened to Walker on the final lap as he went up the inside, looking to try and take that final podium position. If you're not crashing, I suppose you're not trying, I suppose, well, what he'll say at the end of the race. He went for it on the final lap, and you can't criticise him for that. Unfortunately, despite a brilliant race and a charge through the field, no points doesn't quite do justice for the performance he put in as he chased through to fight for the podium. But Casey O'Gorman, another supreme weekend for him. He and Lyons all square, if you like, out of this weekend. 45 points from a possible 50 for both of them. 2 brilliant battles with just a 1/10 of a second separating this time, which is a yawning chasm compared to the gap between the pair of them yesterday. Shout out for a few riders slightly further back. A shout out in particular for McCabe in 10th. That's a tremendous ride for the youngster. He got his best result of the season yesterday, taking 12th, but he's broke into the top 10 today.
Yeah, very good stuff then from the FIM Mini GP UK Series points leader. Yes, he does both, you know, bit of multitasking. But yeah, there's some great results there once again. And Harrison Crosby as well, after that mistake yesterday, he's bounced back to take that 4th position. That was a good ride. And Sullivan Mounsey managed to make some progress as well, up back into 6th. Corey Tinker again, Reece Stevenson, Lucas Brown in the top 10. Great stuff. And Keanu Fire as well, bit of a bigger challenge taken on Silverstone for the first time, but the Dutchman, who's already had that podium as a rookie, just in 11th today and not that far off the top 10 at all, so job well done.
Yeah, just ahead of Julian Correa as well, the American on the number 40, taking 12th position. He's been running Sean Dillon Kelly's number this weekend, the number 40. He was hoping to do him proud, and I'd certainly say he's done that. The race winner, though, Casey O'Gorman on the 67, and as we've mentioned, he's got a terrific record this season, as he's congratulated by the points leader, Evan Belford, who took 3rd position. And as Jamie Lyons towers over him once again, but unfortunately this time he'll have to stand a step lower than him on the podium this afternoon.
It's going to help with the height difference, isn't it?
Yeah, it's going to mean that perhaps he won't have to look up quite so much this time, Casey O'Gorman, to Jamie Lyons. Belford there, the debrief begins on their race. Belford, if you'd have asked him yesterday, I suppose, just before race 1 started, given that he was starting plumb last on the grid, if you offered him a 9th and a 3rd and that he's going to extend his points lead at the end of Silverstone, I'm sure he would have bitten your hand off.
Yeah, for sure. Very, very good weekend then for Evan Belford in the end, with another podium after a tougher run of form. Although yesterday it was the same result as he'd taken in the races at Donington Park, but obviously he did that from the back here after that technical problem in qualifying, so a little bit different. But good to see him back on the box, and it's amazing the difference it can make when you're staying consistent and the guys behind you keep switching who's second, who's third. Obviously Casey O'Gorman had those injury problems as well, because he's managed to extend that lead despite not having been on the podium for a wee while now.
It was stopping the rot there for Evan Belford. He's not been on the podium since Brands Hatch at the end of July when he took victory there. He'd gone 6 races without a podium and 6 races without finishing even in the top 5. So a crucial result for Belford on many levels to stop the rot and also extend his points lead with 6 races remaining. Here he is. Pretty happy with his afternoon's work, I am sure. Just on screen a moment ago, you saw Casey O'Gorman, and there he is now, a fitting tribute for him, paying tribute to the much-missed Hugo Milan, who sadly lost his life in a Hawkers European Talent Cup race back at Aragon in July. He's much missed by not just the FIM CV Repsol paddock, but by the motorcycle racing fraternity in general. We're all thinking of you, Hugo, and indeed your family and friends, and Casey O'Gorman is going to pay tribute to him up on the podium.
He will indeed, and of course a fellow ETC competitor as well, where he does race under a different flag, but yet races in the European Talent Cup as well. So here we have the final results, though, of Casey O'Gorman on home turf in the British Talent Cup.
Took victory by a 1/10 of a second from Jamie Lyons, with Evan Belford on the podium by less than a 10th ahead of Harrison Crosby. Carter Brown taking 5th position, keeping his title challenge on track ahead of Sullivan Mounsey. Corey Tinker, Reece Stevenson, who was less than 10 seconds off the winner, finishing in 8th position, with Lucas Brown leading the next group in 9th. Harley McCabe, terrific 10th for him, ahead of Keanu Via, the Dutchman, in 11th, and the American Julian Correa in 12th. Luca Hopkins pipping Johnny Garness on the final lap as those problems continue to halt the early leader. He did a 2:32 on the final lap, unfortunately, which dropped him down to 14th, but he salvages a couple of points ahead of Alexander Rowan, Rossi Banham and Cunningham. Bannister in 18th, ahead of Reese Coates and Mason Johnson. Rossi Dobson in 21st, Harrison Desoy, Ross Moore and Eagle in 24th. Holly Harris completes our 26 rider field. She made it to the flag just under a couple of minutes behind the winner. Ollie Walker there, 1 lap down because he failed to reach the flag on the final lap as he desperately tried to snatch the final podium position. Unable to quite do that. Cormac Buchanan, another rider who crashed out of a very strong position earlier in the race. James Cook, of course, was unfortunately involved as Carter Brown had that moment through Abbey, which just tripped him up. Harrison Mackay, Bailey Stewart Campbell and Eli Banish also failing to make the finish.
So we're ready for the podium then. And 3 Union Jacks for the British Talent Cup podium today, although, like we said, there is a bit of an international taste of the field.
Absolutely. Evan Belford, he will step onto the 3rd spot on the podium, and as I mentioned, how the weekend looked, it was, that's a result that he'll certainly celebrate, as Jamie Lyons is encouraged onto the podium, shall we say, by Casey O'Gorman, who gave him a friendly tap there as he made his way into 2nd position. And Casey O'Gorman, who is now heading onto the top step of the podium, a part of the podium he's becoming quite familiar with this season. He's either been standing just to his right or right where he is now. Top step of the podium and just above eye level with Jamie Lyons, who stands just to his right. A 5th victory of the year for the much experienced, as I mentioned, Casey O'Gorman, as the trophies are handed out. This time we're not getting through the anthems first. We're going to hand the trophies over first.
We are,
and Evan Belford receives his for 3rd.
He does. So it's Andrea Coleman from MotoGP partner charity Two Wheels for Life who's doing that, and now it'll be the 2nd place trophy to Jamie Lyons, although you can't really tell he's a step down from Casey O'Gorman with that height difference. And then the winner's trophy then for the man of the moment once again, almost unstoppable since his return, Casey O'Gorman.
3rd podium of the season for Jamie Lyons. Casey O'Gorman, though, that's 7 starts for him and 7 podiums. 5 first and a 2nd, and he closes in on the lead of the championship as we hear the British national anthem for our winner.
Andrea giving out the trophy. A round of applause. So, ladies and gentlemen, please be upstanding for the winner's national anthem.
congratulations then to Casey O'Gorman, your winner at Silverstone on Sunday after finishing second to Jamie Lyons yesterday. And the title takes another twist as we get ready for the final 3 rounds of the season. They are certainly 3 of your 5 title contenders, we have to say, that we have going to the season. That's probably the first slip-up of the day.
I was going to say, a long way down there, isn't it? Long way down, but yeah, well saved. So the rider's heading off then. And let's have a look then at the highlights from race 2 here at Silverstone at the British Grand Prix.
Absolutely. Lyons not quite making the jump that he wanted from pole position as O'Gorman swooped into the lead. And that start from Johnny Garnett, we saw him sweep into the lead yesterday, from the 3rd row up to 2nd today, and very quickly took the lead from Casey O'Gorman, who fought immediately back as they headed through the fast sweepers of Maggots, Beckett and Chappell as the battle raged on up at the front. The same 2 from yesterday, eventually they proved the class of the field once again, with O'Gorman and Lyons going head-to-head. That was the move into Brooklands. Unfortunately, Cook was tripped up in that incident with Carter Brown, who just about managed to stay upright as they went through Abbey. Unfortunately, the rider just on his tail couldn't quite do so. The last lap, though, once again settled matters, and it was Brooklands where O'Gorman struck this time, and he took the victory by just a 1/10 of a second. Lyons forced to make do with 2nd as Evan Belford hung on for 3rd to take some crucial championship points away with him from Silverstone. That's all we've got time for this second race of the weekend in the British Talent Cup. The British Talent Cup will return very, very soon with 3 more rounds to go, starting in just a couple of weeks' time. From Fran and myself, thanks for watching.